بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. So what we're going to talk about today is the first juz of the Quran. Inshallah, we'll cover that pretty briefly. What I noticed is that when you read Surah Fatiha, this is sort of like an introduction to the author, an introduction to Islam. That Allah is telling us what type of person, not what type of person, what type of author He is, how He is, that He's merciful towards us, that He wants guidance for us, and that He wants what's best for us, and wants us to avoid misguidance or making Him angry in the first chapter. And this really gives you sort of a prepping for what to expect and how to understand the rest of the book. So it starts off with like Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. So that gives you, okay, well, this is where this is coming from. So it's really important for us to think about that, and that the Quran also it's in order. It's set out with a rhyme and a reason, not just that it's randomly put together and that this person put that here and that person put that there. When we're saying that this is the book of Allah, the last book, and we can't say, well, it just occurred to somebody. No, Allah, however everything is specifically that way for a reason. Now, when we get to the next part, which is Surah Baqarah, it's really interesting that the style of writing, that it just starts off with, this is the book, there is no doubt in it, for a guidance for those who believe. So it's saying that it's introducing the book. Now, what is this book about? How is it going to be different than the other ones? And it's establishing who's going to believe in it, which is the believers, those who have their minds open, and who's going to disbelieve in it. The people who are just determined to not understand it and they don't want to believe and they don't care. These people are not going to be the people who believe in the Quran. What I always thought was rather interesting also was that it immediately starts talking now about people who are in between this and that, people claiming to believe but not. Because the thing is that Islam is going to be a very revolutionary system. It's going to change the status quo of an individual, of a family, of a society. And then amongst that, there's going to be some people who are claiming that, yes, this is what we want. We want change. But in reality, they want a different type of oppression. And so this is going to have them in the midst of the believers working for change, while at the same time not having that internal change amongst themselves, and also doing destructive things and undermining the faithful while they're with them. So it's interesting that the Quran warns us immediately about these people and doesn't wait till you're halfway in it. It says, look, wait, we're going to try to have this change. We're going to try to do things different. And remember, there's going to be some amongst you who are acting as if that's what they want, but that they don't want that. And saying things like, يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They believe that they are deceiving Allah and those who believe, but they do not deceive except themselves, and they perceive it not. But it's a warning also that there's going to be people like this, and it's also a warning to ourselves. Don't be people like this. And sometimes we forget that. We're like, yeah, there's those bad guys over there who need to be warned and they need to be straightened out. And forget that I might be one of those guys. Maybe I'm saying, because it says what وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, and they perceive it not. That maybe I'm one of these people who I'm tricking myself, and I'm actually not really working for Allah and the Prophet, but I'm showing people that I am. And as the Quran goes on, it starts doing something that is very unique, not unique to the Quran, and nobody ever can do it, but unique in the way that Allah does it, and unique in the way that the Quran is written, is that it jumps back and forth in time periods. So it'll talk about the past, it'll talk about the present, it'll talk about the future. And so it interweaves these things seamlessly together. I remember it was a bit when I was younger trying to read it, and I'm just curious, why is this written this way? But what it does is it really takes advantage of Allah really understands humans' intelligence and our ability to fill in the blanks, and it also really understands our hearts, that we know these things naturally. So that's why the Quran really rings true. And at the same time, that's why it's a person can read it 1,500 years ago, and a person can read it now, and that, I'm sorry, 1,400 years ago, and then a person can read it now, and that still get meaning and things like that from it. Whereas if a human writes a book, you say, "Whoa, that was really great for that time." You get the idea of the Quran, the idea of justice. It starts reminding us of earlier groups of people, and it gets us the feeling of what's going to be expected for the rest of the book, and it allows us to get a lot of meaning out of it. It's good to start with these things and start thinking about this when we're if we're trying to read the Quran from cover to cover in that manner, in the way that it's written. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.